It began quietly, almost too quietly for something that should have shaken the world. No alarms blared across observatories. No press releases flooded the scientific journals. No emergency briefings were convened in the hallowed halls of academia. There was only a single message, brief and precise, from Harvard astrophysicist Avi Loeb. It appeared as though it had been slipped into the world like a note left on a desk, a diary entry from someone who had seen more than anyone else dared to witness. In that calm, unwavering tone, the tone he used when the facts demanded absolute clarity, Loeb issued what he called his final warning about 3I Atlas, the third interstellar object ever detected and perhaps the most enigmatic visitor humanity has ever observed. For months, astronomers around the globe argued and debated. Some dismissed the anomalies outright. Others ridiculed the notion that an interstellar object could behave in ways that defied centuries of cometary science. And yet, there it was. 3I Atlas, shifting color as if it were alive, accelerating inexplicably, spouting jets of gas so vast they seemed to belong to a body much larger than anything recorded, and leaving behind an anticola that stretched nearly 3 million kilometers. Its mass loss rate was so extreme, so incomprehensible for an object of its size, that it became impossible to ignore. Avi Loeb watched these numbers, charting them with meticulous precision, noting every deviation from expectation. Each calculation brought a deeper sense of unease. With new models, the latest images from Chinese orbiters, and data from Earth-based telescopes, he came to a conclusion that sent ripples through the scientific community. The physics simply didn't add up. The energy required to sustain such jets was impossible for a single intact body. The structure of the comet, as seen, could not produce the observed effects. And most chillingly, if 3I Atlas did not appear as a cloud of fragments on December 19, 2025, then humanity was no longer looking at a natural object. From the moment of its discovery on July 1, 3I Atlas defied expectation. It had appeared from interstellar space, slipping into our solar system along a path that seemed entirely untraceable. Initial observations seemed reassuring. A faint dust coma formed around the nucleus, carbon dioxide jets erupted in predictable patterns, and the shape appeared stable enough to satisfy initial scrutiny. But as the object approached the Sun, it revealed behaviors that no natural comet should display. Instead of gradually warming and shedding ice in a predictable pattern, its mass loss escalated to unprecedented levels. Its anticola, the vast tail of material trailing behind it, extended millions of kilometers, dwarfing any comet previously observed and stretching beyond the distance from Earth to the Moon. Images from China's Tianwen-1 orbiter revealed enormous jets of gas blasting from the nucleus. Yet, despite these violent emissions, the core remained intact, unbroken, seemingly impervious to forces that should have shattered it completely. Simultaneously, instruments recorded shifts that compounded the mystery. The object changed color, accelerated in ways that could not be explained by gravitational forces alone, and exhibited velocities inconsistent with solar heating. Each anomaly, on its own, was remarkable. Together, they formed a pattern seen only once before in interstellar space, in the case of Oumuamua, whose acceleration to this day has no definitive explanation. By late October, it became clear to those who observed it that something about 3I Atlas was not natural. It was more than strange. It was impossible, at least according to our current understanding of physics. Avi Loeb, who had spent years defending the natural origin of the second interstellar object, Borisov, was not a man prone to sensational claims. He was not a conspiracist, nor a scientist hungry for headlines. He was one of the most respected astrophysicists on the planet, a Harvard professor whose career spanned decades, over 1,000 peer-reviewed papers, and a deep understanding of cometary physics. And yet, when he calculated the energy needed to produce the jets of 3I Atlas, the result was staggering. The jets were so powerful and sustained that to produce them naturally, the comet would need to expose over 1,600 square kilometers of surface to sunlight, the equivalent of a nucleus 23 kilometers wide. Hubble imagery, however, confirmed the object was no larger than 5.6 kilometers. The discrepancy was impossible to reconcile. A comet cannot output more energy than it receives from the Sun. It cannot shed more mass than its surface area allows. It cannot survive violent, sustained outgassing without breaking apart. Yet the object remained intact. Loeb concluded that for the numbers to make sense, the object must have fragmented into at least 16 pieces. But when December 19 approached, if these fragments were not observed, then the jets could not possibly be natural. They could only be the product of technology, something deliberately engineered. Loeb did not hedge. He did not soften the warning. He stated plainly that if 3I Atlas remained whole, then it must be artificial. Not possibly, not maybe, but absolutely. Natural objects cannot defy the laws of thermodynamics. They cannot break sublimation limits by a factor of 16. They cannot eject jets strong enough to reshape their own coma without showing cracks. Machines, however, behave differently. An engineered object could produce these jets without destroying itself, propelled by forces far beyond natural sublimation. The scientific world reacted immediately. Critics dismissed him outright. Some argued the comet looked normal, healthy, and natural. Others accused him of misinterpreting the data, of insulting planetary science, or of misleading the public entirely. The attacks were aggressive, relentless, and personal. Yet Loeb remained steadfast. He reminded his colleagues that their training was rooted in comets and asteroids alone. Introduce engineered objects into the equations, he said, and the behavior suddenly made sense. His warning was not arrogance, it was a demand to confront reality. Loeb had a history of being correct when others doubted him. In 2019, he identified an interstellar meteor over Papua New Guinea, a claim initially mocked by governments until it was confirmed. Now, he was making a prediction that would eclipse all others in its audacity. He published the anomalies in detail, each one pointing to an unnatural origin: non-gravitational acceleration, unusual color changes, CO2-dominated sublimation, mass loss and Anticola length incompatible with its size, lack of fragmentation despite violent jets, brightness changes inconsistent with comets, acceleration unexplained by solar heating, jet patterns reminiscent of thrusters, and energy requirements far exceeding physical possibilities. The world now awaited a single, defining moment. December 19, 2025. The Hubble and James Webb Space Telescopes would be aligned and calibrated, ready to capture the truth. If fragments appeared, the comet was natural, albeit extreme. If the object remained intact, the implications were profound. 3I Atlas drifted silently through space, glowing, accelerating, shedding mass, refusing to reveal its true nature. Telescopes around the world were trained on it. Models were run continuously. Scientists watched, calculating every possible scenario, hoping for clarity, fearing what might be confirmed. If intact, it would mean the solar system is not a silent wilderness. It would suggest technology older than Earth, intelligence predating humans, silently existing within reach of our observations. It would not be a threat. It might not even be aware of us. But its existence would force humanity to confront the possibility that we are not alone, that our place in the cosmic story is far from unique, and that other civilizations, unimaginably old, may have already traveled the stars. 3I Atlas is more than a comet, if that is what it truly is. It is a relic, a machine, a messenger drifting through the void, revealing just enough to challenge our understanding but withholding enough to preserve its mystery. Loeb's warning is not a call to panic. It is a call to humility, a reminder that the universe does not bend to human expectation. As December 19th approaches, humanity waits, suspended between dread and revelation, between hope and fear. Will we witness a cloud of fragments, the natural outcome of a comet pushed to its limits? Or will we see an intact object, defying physics and forcing us to reconsider our understanding of the cosmos? The answer will arrive pixel by pixel, photon by photon. And in that revelation, the universe will whisper a message that may change everything we think we know about life, intelligence, and the cosmos itself.